I think maybe now, yes.
I think maybe now, yes.
I think yes. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Shakespeare Shakedown. We're going to shake up the bard tonight. I'm here with my lovely fellow vixens. We have Hippolyta, we have Thalassa and Brizo, and myself, Selene. We are going to regale you with our own favorite selections of Shakespeare's works tonight, featuring anything to do with our topic of love and romance. The month is February. It's coming to a close in just a few short days, but we wanted to take just every opportunity we could to squeeze out that last bit of love, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, what I mean.
So we all have our own special bits we'd like to share with you tonight, right? So we will go in the order it has been determined of Hippolyta first, followed by Thalassa, followed by Brizo, and followed by myself, Selene. Anything we want to talk about before we dive right in?
I have something.
Oh, please.
The chat is already very excited about your hair, Brizo. I just wanted to.
Oh, hello, chat.
Yes. Your hair does look great.
It's so Brizo red. It's Brizo red hair.
Glorious.
Oh. It makes me so happy.
Everyone is killing it in the hirsute section of this place.
It's true. Hirsute. What a word. Good
I'm
word
fancy.
Choice.
I hang out with Selena.
The definition of the word.
What was that?
I'm so sorry. I have a tendency in my normal speaking to summon that on anyone else's special device. It's probably me.
I was going to say there's a lady on my ship. I should have mentioned. I'm sorry. Awkward.
Well, if you can put the castaway away, unless they are a fellow thespian and they are very interested in engaging in the conversation, we'd be happy to have them.
I'll let them know. I'll ask around.
Anyway, well, otherwise, I suppose let's give everyone a chance to take a look. So what I'm going to be discussing tonight is from A Midsummer Night's Dream. So if you want to pull that up, you can use the Googles and go to the Folger Shakespeare online, and you can follow along in our text. We are in Act 3, Scene 1. We'll be starting around line 130. So Act 3, Scene 1 in Midsummer. So we'll just give you a little bit of shaky shoulders to stall while that is going on so that you can follow along with what we're doing. I do have, playing the part of Bottom shall be the beloved Brizo, and then I should be playing Titania, Queen of the Fairies.
Is that
while people are looking that up?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
While people are looking it up, could you explain why you chose this piece?
So the reason I chose this piece, in sort of thinking about love and romance, this is a play that is nothing but love and romance and how it all goes awry. So what I enjoy about this particular one, which it might date me slightly, but if you were thinking about, being a teenager and feeling so many feelings, and even though Titania is a full-grown woman, the sort of love that she is experiencing in this play, as done by a magical spell, is so very much like that first love where you are overcome and everything that person does is the most attractive thing you've ever seen, even just down to like the way their hair just flips slightly to the side, or, look how he leans. It's a very my so-called life moment when I look at this particular scene. It makes me giggle. So it's a very specific, special kind of love that is still so fun to think about, but not so much fun to experience. I must say, at least as an adult. It gets a little old after a while, shall we say. But do you think we've given them enough time to look it up?
I think so.
I certainly got mine up, if you know what I mean.
I was about to say, I'm ready to bottom, if you know what I mean.
Well, everyone's prepared then.
Wonderful. So anyway, I shall start. So as Titania. What angel wakes me from my flowery bed?
The finch, the sparrow, and the lark, the plain song cuckoo grey, whose note full many a man doth mark, and dares not answer nay. For indeed, who would set his wit to so foolish a bird? Who would give a bird the lie, though he cry cuckoo never so?
I pray thee, gentle mortal, sing again. Mine ear is much enamoured of thy note, and so is mine eye enthralled to thy shape. And thy fair virtue's force perforce doth move me on first view to swear I love thee.
Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that. And yet, to say the truth, reason and love keep little company together nowadays. The more the pity that some honest neighbours will not make them friends. Nay, I can gleek upon occasion.
Thou art as wise as thou art beautiful.
Not so, neither, but if I had wit enough to get out of this wood, I have enough to serve mine own turn.
Out of this wood, do not desire to go. Thou shalt remain here, whether thou wilt or no. I am a spirit of no common rates. The summer still doth tend upon my state, and I do love thee. Therefore go with me, and I'll give thee fairies to attend on thee, and they shall fetch thee jewels from the deep, and sing while thou on pressed flowers dost sleep, and I will purge thy mortal grossness, so that thou shalt like an airy spirit go. Well, you see, at the beginning of this scene, what has happened is that Oberon is being a big jerk to his wife, Titania, and has cast a spell, has ordered Puck to cast a spell on her to make her fall in love with whatever creature she comes across. Of course, she comes across, a peasant who has the head of an ass in bottom. And so it doesn't even matter what he looks like. She's going to fall in love.
Look,
it's a tiny bottom.
It's a very tiny bottom. So she is so deeply in love. It does not matter that he has the head of an ass. And he is singing a random silly song. And she is just like, oh my goodness, look at this. All of this is the perfect thing. So she loves his song. She loves his shape. She loves his virtue's force. I'm assuming also she must really love the booty. And then he just sort of is like, no, you really shouldn't like me. She's like, you know what? Not only you're so beautiful, you're also smart. She's like, She's not even listening. She's not listening to anything he says. She is just so fixated on the booty and the virtue force that, it doesn't really matter. And because she is a queen, she is so used to getting whatever she wants. She's like, no, you don't get to go. I will buy you a bunch of stuff. I will make you an Instagram influencer, and we shall go to parties whenever we want to, and I will give you, snacks and bottle service, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to come and be cool just like me. You don't get a choice because that butt is just too cute. And I just love this scene to that.
It's happened to me before. I can't lie. No, what I love about this scene is how much Bottom protests. Like, he's just like, no, you can't possibly. What do you don't even know what you're looking at. But it's very fun to play because in the moment when it's like, well, I'll get you jewels and I'll get you fairies. And it's like, well, yeah, I would sign up for that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, just come along with me. I'm going to give you everything you've ever wanted. That is how great I am. So just be quiet and deal with it. Because it doesn't matter what he does. Head of an ass, everyone. But imagine what that ass must be, eh? Huh?
But even given that, my first instinct with this scene is, we know Bottom is a weaver, Bottom the Weaver, is that the title he receives? If I was a lowly weaver who woke up like this, and then a fairy woman wooed me, I would think I was on a fast track to murder or some horrific event where, I would just not trust that she had any of my best interest. It would be coming on way too strong. I would think there was just bloody, terrible traps on the other side of what she was offering and no fairies or luxury, frankly.
And yet.
Oh, what I love is, especially, prior to her waking up and falling in love with an ass.
Haven't we all?
Fair. Prior to that, I love it in the full presentation of the entire show. You have this beautiful queen who you can play off as very is stunningly beautiful and regal and a queen. And then she wakes up and suddenly she's at a One Direction concert and she's a teenager. And it's just so exciting to see the switch, which I know we didn't get to dive into right now, but we definitely did get to see that angsty teenager who's in love with the bad boy.
We do have questions in the chat that I just noticed.
Yeah.
Luke Stagg has asked of murder, I assume, would it be worth it? And then Selene, I received a very specific question if I am making a case for or against being the recipient of murder. It's all, I mean, yes.
Yes.
From Titania, I would.
Yeah,
I would.
exactly. I would be thrilled if that's the way I ultimately went.
Mm-hmm.
She's just
Very
going to
cool.
step on you and crush you to death.
And that's okay.
No, there are worse ways to go.
Oh.
Certainly.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of what a real life analog to Titania coming up to me, telling me that she is super into me and going to take me off, who that would be.
And again, you are a donkey.
Yes, and I have the head of a
Important.
donkey.
Don't negate that fact.
You are not a piece of ass. You are literally an
Literally.
ass.
I'm literally an ass. And who has shown up in front of me and said, I love you. I am taking you home with me. I mean, if you're looking at like 70s Tom Selleck mustachioed perfection, if he just showed up and said this to me, I mean, my dreams would be coming true, but I might be a little frightened, but I would definitely go. Because again, similarly, if he just wants to crush me to death under the weight of that mustache, I think I'm going to let it happen. I think if nothing else, it's a very good story that I will tell again later. This is a story that you will drink in bars for years on this. Like, let me tell you about what happened last night. I met this person and this is what they did. And you know what? It might have been a little weird, but I'm into it.
We like people who take the initiative. It's,
Right?
It's nice. It's helpful. It can steer you in the right direction.
With that, are we ready to move on to Thalassa?
Ooh.
To take the initiative?
That's my middle name.
Thalassa Initiative. What is your last name, Thalassa? I don't know it.
Ama.
Oh,
A-M-A.
yes. Thalassa Initiative Armor. I buy it. I'm for it.
Well, certainly we can dive in. Let's see what I did there. We're going to dive into some Romeo and Juliet, the classic love story. Although I think Much Ado does it better. But anyway, no shame or shade here ever. Instead, we are going to be looking at not Romeo or Juliet. Instead, we're going to be looking at the arguably best character in the show, Mercutio. And this is going to be particularly Act 2, Scene 1, technically line 9, but I'm going to skip ahead to like line 20 right after. So like, just to set up the reason I chose this piece, is technically it happens during our version of Romeo and Juliet, but it gets cut off. And it's such a shame because it is one of my favorite parts of the entire show. It's so funny. Also, I will be breaking this down nearly line by line afterward because I want to reiterate we teach this in schools. And I don't think anybody gives enough justification of just how dirty this play is.
I'm so ready. My body is ready.
It's a lot. Anyway, so what is happening is Mercutio is calling upon Romeo, trying to get him to come, but he can't find him. So he decides to start talking about Romeo's girlfriend to like incite a reaction out of him to make him come out of wherever he's hiding. And now we will dive in. So, Romeo, humors, madman, passion, lover, appear thou in the likeness of sign. He heareth not. He stirreth not. He moveth not. The ape is dead, and I must conjure him. I conjure thee. by Rosalind's bright eyes, by her high forehead and her scarlet lip, by her fine foot, straight leg, and quivering thigh, and that means that their adjacent lie, that in thy likeness thou appear to us. This cannot anger him. 'Twould anger him to raise a spirit in his mistress's circle of some strange nature, letting it there stand till she had laid it down and conjured it down. That were some spite. My invocation is fair and honest. In his mistress's name I conjure only to raise up him. And scene.
Por Dios.
I don't know what grade you were in when you read this. For me, it was grade 9.
Sounds about right.
14 years of age. 13, 14, something around there.
So do you think I may have been even younger? It may have been like a beginning of middle school education hurdle that we crossed.
What a hurdle.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it just speaks to, the quality of your teacher, whether you understood this or not.
That's very true. Because I did not get this until I was too old. And it was one of those and it just all came together. Because if you look especially at the last little bit, 'twould anger him to raise a spirit in his mistress's circle of some strange nature, letting it there stand till she had laid it and conjured it down. My invocation is fair and honest. In his mistress's name I conjure only to raise up him, as he is now very descriptively described the beauty of Romeo's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Good.
I like how someone has said they read Romeo and Juliet at age 13 in Catholic school.
Me as well. Also Catholic. The nuns did not go over this. We probably may not have even read this section. But no, the nuns did not know how to analyze this particular portion of Romeo and Juliet.
But that's the thing. It's the whole show.
It is the.
So what were we all doing in school, spending at least a month on this play?
See, I do not think we spent quite that long. Everything I say just seems worse and worse as it goes out of my mouth. But yes, it's so true. I do think actually that I don't know if we covered this particular scene when we did it I think there must be a very edited version. But even so, this whole play is filled with this sort of wordplay. And I think we're just dumb and didn't understand. That's how they get away with it.
I'm so glad you brought it to us today, Thalassa. I certainly have a new understanding, and I feel great about it.
I was going to say, I'm sure if anyone watching at home is a parent, they'll be letting their PTA know all about Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet is smut. I'm sorry, it is.
We got rid of Catcher in the Rye, but we didn't get rid of Romeo and Juliet. It's fine.
My favorite subtlety that I only learned about, just the physicality that you introduced at the end made me think of it. Is that Titus, where he's saying I had a dream about jamming my fist in your throat, and you're like, what is this?
Help!
It's something please. But when Thalassa did that at the end, I was like, oh, Titus, I know this scene.
Also, it must be said, Thalassa, you just performed it to such a degree of perfection that I just don't think it can be done quite as well as.
Frankly,
Clearly,
I think
quite
if
as
you have a
clearly.
piece that is just innuendo, I feel like you have to go all in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, let people know. We didn't know until this moment just how raunchy this moment was, and I feel better for it.
Well, I feel like it would be so easy, as we've literally discussed, to just gloss over it and maybe even make it a little creepy, more about literally conjuring someone. Simply not what is happening here. So I appreciate the new context that performance brings to it.
I feel like everyone is thinking about, I know when they told, they're like, there's versions of this movie, we could watch it as a movie, but some of like, this one is very faithful to the text, but there's boobies in it, so we won't watch that. So we'll watch this edited version instead. But I try to think, I just assume, because I know we read parts of this out loud, that everyone was just like, yes, we're just reading this. Oh, it's in verse. Oh, great. Cannot wait to get, when does the cool part happen? When do they kill each other? When's the stabby bits?
How do we feel about moving on? I'm almost reluctant to, because I'm just feeling so many feelings. But are we ready to move to the next?
Already.
Do you feel ready?
Ready as I'll ever be. And here we go. So the passage that I brought into us today is from potentially, I go back and forth, but potentially my favorite of Shakespeare's plays, which is Twelfth Night. It is a debaucherous good time. Literally Twelfth Night as a celebration, as a holiday, is all about sort of switching roles and things getting crazy. And so this play does a lot of that. And the selection that I've chosen is from Act 2, Scene 2. And it's a very short scene, very short. So Act 2, Scene 2, this is the last little chunk. It's Viola's monologue at the end of that scene. I don't have the line number, but again, short scene, last chunk of it. And the reason I chose this is because I hope I'm not alone in just loving a good love triangle. I just love a good love triangle. And this monologue is the epitome of laying out the love triangle in such a way that it's like overwhelming and also super fun. I also love this monologue because it feels very Vixen-y, in that Viola is playing the male role. And she's doing it so well that it's causing some problems, which we will see in the monologue. So Act 2, Scene 2, very end of the scene. It starts with, I left no ring with her. So Malvolio has just come in and shortly thereafter left to say to Viola, who's dressed as Cesario, that his lady, the lovely Olivia, would like to see her, because there was a ring exchange that happened, and the rings must be re-exchanged. And Viola is left knowing nothing about any kind of ring exchange, and she is left alone on stage. This is a soliloquy. She's speaking directly to the audience and asking them these questions, so I will ask you these questions. And importantly, although we're looking at the Folgers together, you'll hear some different word choices that I have chosen based on the first folio. And we'll talk about that once I have finished. I have my reasons. So here we go. I left no ring with her. What means this lady? Fortune forbid my outside have not charmed her. She made good view of me. Indeed, so much that sure methought her eyes had lost her tongue, for she did speak and starts distractedly. She loves me sure. The cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger. None of my lord's ring, why he sent her none. I am the man. If it be so, as 'tis, poor lady, she were better love a dream. Disguise, I see thou art a wickedness, wherein the pregnant enemy does much. How easy is it for the proper false in women's waxen hearts to set their forms? Oh, alas, oh, frailty is the cause, not we. For such as we are made, if such we be, how will this fadge? My master loves her dearly, and I, poor monster, fond as much on him, and she, mistaken, seems to dote on me. What will become of this? As I am man, my state is desperate for my master's love. As I am woman, now, alas the day, what thriftless sigh shall poor Olivia breathe? O time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. The end. Thank you very much. And so, first of all, I want to say that I like to think with this monologue that if Viola were perhaps a little less heteronormative and or a little less monogamous, problem solved.
The world is your oyster at that point.
Just problem solved. I mean, Viola, Cesario, and Olivia, and Duke Orsino, it sounds good to me. But alas, she pines after her master, Duke Orsino, and as a man, that's difficult in this time and place. And Olivia pines after her as Cesario, which is a man, and she is not that. And so that's confusing and concerning. The change that I made is that in the first folio, so sort of the original prints that we have of Shakespeare's works, the words are, alas, oh, frailty is the cause, not we, for such as we are made, if such we be. Usually, when we see this in a modern context, it says, alas, our frailty is the cause, not we, for such as we are made of, such we be. So the modern context makes it seem like women are frail, and so we cannot control our loves. And listen, when Hamlet says, frailty, thy name is woman, fair. He's a man, whatever. But I don't like Viola saying, women are frail, we can't handle our emotions. And the original folio doesn't say that. The first folio says, frailty is the cause, and if we are that, then we're in a pickle. But we don't have to be that. So anyway, I brought this in because I love the love triangle, and it's just wild and a good time. And that's that.
I love that change.
Right?
I'm thrilled you did that.
Bring it to the first folio. Why not?
Because I believe anyone can have frailty as part of their character in their personal self. It doesn't just have to be designated to the females of the species. It can go.
I know an extraordinary volume of frail men.
So many.
I do too.
Shocking.
To the point that anyone may be frail, regardless of identity.
Also, even if Viola is saying, I'm being frail in this moment because I can't handle my emotions, she's also technically dressed as a man. So she is a frail man in that moment. And there you go.
Layers.
What I really love about this piece is the realization that you are in a love triangle. Is that normally you're a little bit more like aware of it developing, but instead she's just like, oh, well, this is the situation now. How did we get here? And you just watch her like going through everything, and it's just like, yes, that checks out. And yeah, yes.
Also that.
All right.
Putting the pins on the map and literally going, oh no, no, and watching the thread.
It's so delightful getting to watch someone going through that.
Yes.
It's kind of like, trash TV. You just, I don't want to go through that. That sounds stressful. But
she ends the soliloquy saying, literally pleading to the entity that is time to be like, I don't know how to deal with this. We can't. So I guess just we'll wait and see how this turns out. Great.
It's definitely, it's sort of similar actually to the Midsummer passage earlier, where Bottom is in a similar position. They're like, me? Oh no, she likes me. Oh, that's not, you don't really want to like me. You should like this person. They are much better suited for you. None of this is going to work out. This will just bring you sadness. Oh, it doesn't matter. All right. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. You still want it? Okay. Mm-hmm. It's sort of coming to terms with like, I do not understand why you feel this way. And I guess I'm just going to have to work through my feelings.
I also feel like it has that moment too of like, oh, like we've been talking, right? I'm Viola. I've been talking to Olivia. We're creating a relationship. We could be friends. And then it's like, oh no, she likes me. Oh, that's different. And sort of that realization of like, we're not just chatting. There's an attraction here. What do I do with this? That's a very real feeling.
Well, I'm sure it was, given everything we've talked about dramaturgically about the time, just not an option on the table. I think one of my favorite things I've ever read about, I believe the Elizabethan era, I think there's an old quote from an old pamphlet specifically concerning homosexuality. And there was a quote from Queen Elizabeth saying that it's exclusively a problem for men because it's only a vice for French women. And it's one of my favorite things I've ever read because I was like, man, you have this so wrong. You think it's like a cigarette?
Only French women partake in the vice. Oh, apparently not.
So, simply, it was just like not even being like floated as an option for women. So I'm sure navigating these conversations, building what she assumed to be a friendship because she was aware of the full circumstances. And then Olivia's, navigating it as she would with a man at the time. So it's just a whole fun host of possibilities. And I want them to enjoy it like a cigarette.
Yes, enjoy that good cigarette. I also love that moment when Viola says, I am the man, right? Like that realization of like, oh no, I'm the man. I didn't, oh, right, of course. Good. So anyway, that is the love triangle of Twelfth Night, which ends up becoming a love square. It's complicated. Great play. Go read it if you haven't.
Can I introduce a singular line of love for mine?
Yes.
It's incredibly uncomplicated. There's no third party. There's no confusion. What I'm going to talk about tonight is Miranda's monologue from The Tempest. Hooray! This is one of the cleanest relationships and in terms of we made eye contact and we love each other. And then we're there. And then we wait and then we get married. There's no he said, she said, no complications aside from parents. But it's really amazing that they just did the teenage thing of, I love you, you're perfect, it's done, hooray. So what we're going to be talking about specifically is The Tempest, Act 3, Scene 1, starting with Ferdinand's text at line 47 and focusing mainly on Miranda's monologue at line 60 thereafter. A bit about the play. I think it's fairly commonly known. It is believed to be Shakespeare's final play, if not Love's Labour's Lost. I don't know where we all stand or where the chat stands on that theory. I like the idea of it being his last play and reading into it in all of those little ways. It's more fun to me that way. But regardless if it was this or Love's Labour's Lost, it seems like he was really thinking about love because, like I said, this is one of the cleanest romances in terms of we've made eye contact and now we're in love. So how does that happen? Well, Prospero, who is Miranda's father, has been exiled with her to this remote island. They have lived there alone for 12 years with a spirit of the island and Caliban, who is the island's native, whom Prospero enslaved. And this is Miranda's network. She has never met a soul outside of this little community that they've built. Make of that what you will. It seems to be a pretty small scope on the world. But after 12 years, her father gets up to scheming. He always seems to be scheming. And he knows that his brother, the king, and a ship full of these Italian nobles are going to be on the ocean. And so he sets forth this titular tempest, which then washes all of these Italian nobles on their shores, leaving Miranda then to see anyone else for the first time ever, namely a very handsome Italian prince named Ferdinand. We love it. It makes so much sense. So he, although he has seen more of the world, is immediately taken by beauty. They fall in love at first sight. But Prospero does not like that. He thinks the kids are rushing into it. And he steps in and uses his wizardry and makes Ferdinand do his bidding. The man has a thing for slavery, and I do not condone it, but he uses his magic to put Ferdinand under a labor spell, and he has to perform labor for Prospero to prove that he is, in fact, in love with Miranda. So Ferdinand is out in the woods laboring over a pile of logs. Do you know what I mean? And Miranda is... she's watching from the distance and starts to feel very guilty because he's clearly doing this backbreaking labor, lifting these logs and sweating and all of this. So she runs over and says, and I quote, "I'll bear your logs the while."
The end.
The end. That's my romance quote. Good night. No. So she says, "I'll bear your logs the while," which is an amazing line to read in this new context, something I never put two and two together on. But Ferdinand does not know what she means. And he says, "No, I love you. I'm going to keep doing my work." So he keeps doing his work, saying he loves her so much, he's happy to do it, blah, blah, blah. And at this point, she realizes, oh my gosh, you don't even know my name. So she says the name. And with the outpouring of Miranda, then we go into the text proper. So we're starting at Ferdinand's line. He says, "Admired Miranda, indeed, the top of admiration, worth what's dearest to the world. Full many a lady I have eyed with best regard, and many a time the harmony of their tongues hath into bondage brought my too diligent ear. For several virtues I have liked several women, never any with so full soul, but some defect in her did quarrel with the noblest grace she owed and put it to the foil. But you, oh, you, so perfect and peerless, are created of every creature's best." And then Miranda replies, "I do not know one of my sex. No woman's face remember, save from my glass my own, nor have I seen more than I may commend than you, good friend, and my dear father. How features are abroad I am skillless of, but by my modesty, the jewel in my dower, I would not wish any companion in the world but you, nor can imagine form a shape besides yourself to like of. But I prattle something too wildly, and my father's precepts I therein do forget." And that's the end.
She's literally never met another woman.
And my first take on this is, oh, Ferdinand, we know this one. We literally talked about it with Hippolyta's monologue selection of just the fleeting, a lot of extremes in the language you're using, and the comparison leaves a terrible taste in my mouth.
I was going to say, it's very, you're not like other girls.
Yes.
And I do not have time for that.
Exactly. But if she has never heard that before, she probably just believes it to be true and thinks it's romantic. But he literally says, like, I've loved several women and something that they did wrong, put it to the foil. But you're perfect and peerless. That's not helpful. She needs to meet other women and have peers and have friends. You can't tell her they're all terrible. It's very concerning to me.
I do appreciate though that she says that. She's like, well, I haven't met other women. I can't speak to that because I've never seen another with my eyeballs. And and there's something I'm like, I really do want her to meet other women. I'm like, honey, sweetheart.
I wanted to meet other men too, because she's like, and I've really never met any other men except these two. But like, I'm assuming after seeing you that like you must be the best there is. Whereas I kind of feel like the first time she meets somebody else, she's going to go, oh
no.
So that's my question is, what do you think happens after what we see in the play and they get married? And then like, I would assume they would go back to mainland Italy instead of continuing to live, in a cave. What happens then? What is her life
like? I truly am imagining that thing that I've heard on the TikTok quite a bit of the, oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Like I'm just imagining, pause, we see Miranda see another man or see a woman and be like, I messed up. Oops. Oh no.
Well, the world then is open to her. She's escaped from the island. She can go anywhere she likes. And I mean, technically, she doesn't really exist to anybody else either because no one knew that she was there on that island. So she can just start over somewhere else. Just skate on by. Just be like, all right, peace out. Italy was nice. I got to go.
In my mind,
I hope she would travel.
In my mind, what I think happens, since it all relates back to superheroes anyway, is she pulls a Diana Prince and leaves the mascara to like our world, and is like, oh, this is cool, and then like, takes over the world and is really cool.
I like Miranda as a superhero.
Yeah,
I buy it.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
But I do think that there's something also to note about The Tempest as a play. She's the only female on stage. And like I've seen a lot of versions where they just change and just have whoever play whoever, which is lovely and exciting. But I think there's a lot to unpack in the fact that she is the only written according to the playwright. What? I'm sorry. It irks me. It irks me a lot.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
It's just like shocking.
It feels like I want to recruit Miranda to the Vixens. It's like if we met Miranda on the street, just be like, come with us. Just forget him. Come with us. Because you've been surrounded by men for far too long.
And I would like to shout out to Luke, who is comparing The Tempest to Lord of the Rings with its lack of female characters. To which I say, yes.
Not no.
Not no. Mm-mm.
Not nay, as they say.
Not nay.
They want to know, though, if we recruited Miranda, what type of vixen would she be? Like, what would her color be?
Ooh.
Well, she does say that modesty is the crown jewel of her business. So I suppose, it's so interesting.
We put in a lot of work to create these characters, so doing it now on the fly.
Well, I'm imagining,
to be honest,
I was pearl white, like a pearl.
I was also thinking that, yes, exactly.
But how dirty that would get on a fair day is maybe not advisable.
I mean, we all get pretty dirty on a fair day, so
if you know what I mean.
Although no logs that day.
You could talk to Persephone about her her fancy bodice that doesn't ever come out and see the light of day because it's too fancy and will get dirty.
Her indoor bodice is too fancy, and it is stunning. It
is beautiful.
Real life.
Yes, but it is too much for the cruelty of the sun and the rain. It's too much. So I suppose Cream would not be the greatest choice, but I think of her as sort of Miranda would be, she's quick-witted, she's very adaptable, she'd be able to figure out what she was doing, sort of like a tinkerer or like an alchemist type of thing, and sort of, creating a whole new life out of it. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I like that.
My brain just goes Dungeons and Dragons and says artificer, based on the description you gave. I would hope she's that magical.
I just love the idea of all of us having Dungeons and Dragons classes. Like, now I want to know. I feel like I'm a rogue.
Yes.
Paladin.
Yeah.
Barbarian, berserker.
Yep.
Oh, Thalassa.
Bard?
I think you might be a bard.
You might be a bard.
I think I'm a bard.
Am I a bard?
We're making discoveries.
Am I?
Someone clip that.
I tried to think of everyone else. I know Athena would be a wizard.
Naturally.
Naturally.
Lots of tomes.
So many tomes.
So many tomes.
How many tomes?
I suppose, perhaps Melody would also be a bard, but I also sort of see her in a paladin role, to be honest.
A multi-class. She's a paladin, bard, multi-class.
I would say.
This feels juicy, right? This feels
juicy. So juicy. The D&D campaign that we could have would be... I just look forward to such a thing.
Exquisite. Truly exquisite.
Thalassa, did you see the exciting news in the chat from Douglas?
Oh yes, who is not sleeping tonight because they are going to come up with all the Vixen classes and alignments.
Yes.
Oh, the alignments. We didn't even talk about that.
Oh, I could definitely talk about that.
Alignments. But also, I just wanted to say, Douglas, as the person that checks the social media, I will be awaiting that homework assignment.
Absolutely.
It will be due bright and early tomorrow.
See, you never want to say, I'm chaotic evil, because none of us are evil, but I'm not chaotic good. So, yes.
Just chaotic. Just chaotic. Yes.
No, I tease Persephone far too much.
Oh, friends.
But with love in my heart.
I also just imagined, to bring us full circle to the Shakespeare Shakedown, I'm just imagining Shakespeare himself doing what Thalassa just did of like, am I a bard?
Bard?
I just want William Shakespeare to be like, am I a bard?
This chat is so fun right now.
Yeah, this is insane. A lot of chaotic neutral. That checks out.
It's true, yes.
We do have that vibe as a troupe. We do have a chaotic neutral air about us, I believe.
But there's also a lot of lawful. I would say that that especially Athena is lawful. Hera is lawful. Who else?
Selene, would you consider yourself lawful?
I think I definitely used to be more lawful, working as a knight, and I'm working on breaking the habit because it has not served me. So I am trying to be more in line with myself and not to a throne.
Yes. A self-alignment. We're all aligning with ourselves.
But I think it was, I just do what this person says, and that will mean I've done the good thing, and that's just the way we do it, and I don't think about it, and I don't ask questions. And then things really went off the tracks, and I had to stop and say, hang on, let's assess.
Pause. Brief pause.
I think I'm a bard.
Pausa.
Are you a bard? I'm sorry.
Bard. No, now I'm just trying to think of the other ones we haven't talked about yet. This is going to take me all evening as well. I think maybe
This has been the most derailed of all our streams, and I'm for it. I'm not. It's correct.
Derailed. It's on topic. This is on brand. At least we're not discussing our favorite kinds of milk.
I was going to say, I think this is all my fault. I get very distracted because I'm a bard. And I make us talk about things that are very unrelated. Like
we did have quite a long conversation about milk.
I'm very passionate about milk because I'm lactose intolerant.
We had such a conversation about milk.
It's so true. And I think if we continue to have it, Athena will stab us in the eyes. So
Yes. I'm moving on. I swear. The people we have not discussed,
yes,
as far as alignment and such, is Atalanta.
Oh.
I think just a classic fighter. Fighter class.
Yes, she's classic fighter. And she's
Chaotic good?
I know. I think she's neutral good.
Neutral good.
I'm going to go with neutral.
Just lawful about her exercise.
Yeah.
True. Very true. As you should be.
A strict regimen.
Do not skip leg day. Very important.
We did Athena.
Mm-hmm.
We did Brizo. Hera.
Ooh. You know, maybe Hera is a druid.
Oh, dairy maid? I feel like there's an animal handling skill. She was a dairy maid.
I feel like she has animal handling and perhaps she's probably half elvish, so she's got glamour.
Yes.
So, you know, all of those things are going to go along with it.
My favorite feats are the type that you just enter, go into any space and people go, wow, and then they help you.
Like folk hero. Brizo is definitely a folk hero. Background.
Oh, yes. Oh, then we need Orania.
Oh, Orania, sorceress, I think.
I think so.
Yes, yeah.
Would we include Melanoe in that as well?
Ooh. But I mean...
Or would she be a necromancer?
Yes, I think she'd be a necromancer.
Spellcasters. We have so many spellcasters. I love it.
Fun.
And what about Pandora?
We have a comment in the chat on
Ranger?
the prediction. Yep.
Pandora Ranger.
Unless she's a wild magic sorcerer. Then you get a whole new table for that.
You would see her being one of those cool druids who's like, these are my spectral wolves. Fear me. That makes sense. Or the feat where you have a swarm of bugs that just live around you. Or you pick what they are, but I like when they're bugs.
That's
because
wonderful.
That's horrifying.
Are we forgetting someone? I'll feel terrible if we are.
No,
we went through it with no specific.
Pandora, Urania, Melody, Melanoe, Hippolyta,
Electrina,
Vina,
Electrina. Oh yes, I knew we were forgetting someone.
Persephone.
Persephone's also a druid.
Oh, because she could do druid craft and just make little plants in her hand and cute things.
I feel like Electrina is probably... Oh, this is a tough one. I'm just sort of picturing... I'm thinking of what weapons I would put on her, and therefore... And like, she would definitely have very high, acrobatics.
Yes, high dex. But also the finger puppets. I wonder if she's also a bard.
So many bards.
And her performance is with finger puppets.
That's true.
You know, I think we can just say across the bard globe.
Why was that so good?
It wasn't.
Dropped my fan.
That was not that good.
Across the bard.
Across the bard.
That's the
Yes,
hard.
we all multi-class at least one level of bard.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
When you join the Vixens, you multi-class one level of bard. And maybe also one level of fighter. We all became mercenaries.
I mean, listen, our campaigns all start at level 10.
Yes. So chat needs to let us know if we now have to actually do a Twitch stream of all the Vixens, a single party playing Dungeons and Dragons.
I think we should make Shakespeare DM it.
Then the big bad at the end is William Henslow. And the goal is that we're going to
We all fight
William
Henslow.
He's a multi-headed hydra.
He's a beholder. We all fight Henslow. I love it. And we'll call up our friend Billy Shakes and he can DM.
Yep.
Totally. Totes.
Done. Great.
On that note.
And with that,
Settled then.
The chat really wants to make it happen.
Right?
we've shook down Shakespeare. I think, if nothing else, today we have shook down Shakespeare.
I would agree. I would agree. And I think we really squeezed out that last bit of love for February. And I think we're ready to move on to the violence again, as we so swiftly moved into let's talk about D&D. So
Yes, we're ready.
We have a love for violence. There's nothing wrong with that.
it's true.
We're into the sex and the violence.
We like our Vixen and on Vixen action, no matter what it is.
Exactly.
We are lovers, not fighters. We just love to fight.
Yes. Great. And so shall we say goodnight?
I think we should.
Adios. Besitos.
Good night, fair
For
friends.
joining.
Thank you for
Of
coming.
course, if your Venmo is not strange, feel free to send us just the tip over to our Venmo, which is at Vixens En Garde. Make sure you give us a follow on all the social medias if you aren't already there. We have some very, very, very exciting news coming within the next few weeks. So we highly recommend you give us a follow. And thank you for joining.
Yes.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.